Texting. Welcome back to the mid-sack on a Man Up Monday. The highly questionable and Arjun Miliaccio flying solo tonight. The redoubtable one is sleeping off a very, 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 very brutal hangover in which he consumed all of 2 drinks. You judge him. I already have. Anyway, hopefully he's on the road to recovery and we see him soon. So I'll be flying solos. Welcome to IDD. For those of you I don't disagree. For those of you who have just wakened, that it has dawned on you that you found us at the right time. March Madness has arrived. The brackets are set. And oh, guess what? Someone's pissed. That never happens at all. In a 325 school division, and only 68 of them make it to the big dance. Yeah, someone's probably going to be pissed. This year's Crybaby Awards go to, in no particular order, Oklahoma, St. John's, and Pittsburgh, among the many. Oklahoma and Pittsburgh weren't at least no one interviewed them, but of course Rick Pitino had to get in front of a microphone to express his displeasure not a month to the day after he said that the team he was coaching was the worst he'd ever had, or the players, whatever. So anyway, his team did respond and got them in position to actually get in the tournament. They played Uconn very tight in the semifinals of the Big East tournament. 20-13, had a good power ranking in terms of schedule. So could they have gotten in? Yeah, they could have. But, they didn't, and as they're sucking a thumb and pouting, they're going to not play in the NIT tournament because that's the ultimate show of pouting, what they should do is go and win the damn NIT. And then say, I'll bet you we could have beaten at least half the teams in this tournament, and they'd have a gripe. But no, they're not going to do that. They're going to take the rest of the summer off. They're going to lick their wounds and whatever. So they're not the only one that's doing this. That's the line. The NIT has now been resorted to a nothing tournament that doesn't matter. If the NCAA were smart, which we know they're not, forget expanding the field. I would literally start the NIT tournament, make it a smaller field. I'd say the next, whatever it is, 12, 15 teams that didn't get in and have a gripe, and let them fight it out and let the winner go in the Sweet 16, find a way to hook it up, okay? Because there is a way to do this mathematically if they wanted to. And by the way, that would give the NIT meaning. Because then if you're if you get to the finals or you win it, you get in at the Sweet 16. Now, you still have to play games, and you may have to play more games. But there is a way to do this if they want to do it. I don't want to hear about the student athlete. That ship has sailed a long time ago. No one cares about the student athlete anymore, at least of all the NCAA. They care about making money. If you want to keep the NIT, or if you want to make the NIT tournament relevant again, that's what I would do. I'd say the 2 teams that make the finals get into the Sweet 16 when that picks up. And depending on if they win it, their seed might be higher than their lower. If they come in second place, they play the highest remaining seed. If they win it, then you figure it out. But to me, that would be one way to make the NIT relevant again. The 2 finalists go pick up the big dance, get in at the Sweet 16 level, and reserve 2 spots or open up 2 more spots. There's a way to do it. Wherever there's brackets, there's possibilities. And if you really want to make money, that would spice up the NIT, wouldn't it? Hey, the top 2 teams here are going to get that would liven that up. That would make even more money. And since that's all the NCAA cares about is making money, believe me, they've made that painfully obvious. Why not do that with the NIT? Why not make the 2 finalists or get the 2 finalists? If you get there, you get in, depending on who wins that game, you get a higher seeding or a lower seeding. There's a way to do this. There's always a way. Where there's money to be made, there's always a way. Okay, and that would make the NIT much more watchable, and people would want to see that. Because the teams that got hosed and had to go in there, they'd have a gripe, they'd have a chip on their shoulder, and whoever comes out of that thing would be a dragon. Like going, okay, now they're here. Okay, that would be kind of cool. Give them a chance at redemption. Because after all, isn't the NCAA all about redemption? Speaking of hose jobs, I don't know if you've looked at these brackets yet. I assume if you're like me, you've filled out 2 or 3 of them. But the unwritten rule, I guess, for lack of a better term, is that if you are the consensus #1 seed going into this tournament, you're supposed to get, or at least an easier road. Okay? I can tell you, having looked at these brackets now 4 times, that the defending national champion Uconn Huskies, who were the consensus #1 pretty much all season long, got screwed. Okay? They got royally bent over, no lube, but no fake 32 blast. It was a 68 blast with a backside Georgie, and the ball hasn't even gone up yet in the first round. But let me just read this region to you, and so you understand the level of bum blasting achieved here by this idiotic committee, okay? As if we can't throw another log in the fire of the powers that be that make the decisions for the NCAA. I mean, just listen to this. Going to that bracket, UConn got the #1 seed. They were the overall #1 seed. They're in the East region. Listen to this. In the 8-9 game, FAU, by the way, was a Final Four team recently, Northwestern, San Diego State, who was in the final last year, they're the 5th seed, okay? Then you've got Auburn, who ran through the SEC, okay? You got BYU, you've got Illinois, Big Ten, you've got Washington State, Iowa State, who's the 2 seed, who just beat previously ranked, #1 ranked Houston by almost 30 points in the conference in the Big 12 championship game. Talk about. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the lube. Now, if Danny Hurley is the coach I believe he is, and I believe this because I know his father, not personally, but I know what kind of coach he is, he will take this as motivation. He won't cry about it. He will say, if he hasn't already, Stetson is our next game. We're only focused on Stetson. But behind closed doors, the disrespect card is going to be the size of a yacht, okay? And it should be. It honestly should be. I don't know how the Big East, who had 2 teams ranked in the top 10 all season, and one was #1 for most of it, how they only got 3 teams in. But there are other conferences that got more. The ACC got 5. Duke and North Carolina were also in the top 10 most of the season, so you can make a case for that. NC State ran through that tournament, God bless them. Virginia was ranked most of the season in the top 20. They should have got in. And the 5th one, who was the 5th one? It was Duke, North Carolina State, Virginia. Who was the 5th one? They got 5. I'm sorry, America. They got 5. Those 4 I get because NC State won the ACC tournament. They had the automatic bid. The other 3 teams were ranked in the top 20 most of the season. Okay, I get them. There was another one, though, and I think they did belong, but I'm forgetting. It escapes me currently who they are, but I'll find them. North Carolina's #1 by the seed in the West, North Carolina. Clemson. Clemson is a 6 seed playing New Mexico, who is a lot of people's dark horse. By the way, old friend Eddie House, who was a member of the 08 Celtics, his son is on that team, New Mexico Lobos. Keep an eye on them. They are good. Clemson, now, I'm an ACC guy, okay? Clemson was 21-11. The ACC is a power conference. And if you look at them, if you look at the record, rather, they had a better than 500 record in the ACC. They did. They started out like gangbusters. They really did. Or they should say they closed like gangbusters. But they, they beat, trying to think who their big wins were against. They beat North Carolina at North Carolina. That's a pretty big win. Kevin Carolina was ranked in the top 5 for a lot of the years. They only faced Duke once. They beat Pitt, who was a bubble team. They beat UAB, who got in the tournament. They beat Alabama at Alabama, who's in the tournament, was ranked 23rd at the time. So they have some big-time wins. They beat South Carolina. They beat TCU, who's in the tournament. So when you look at Clemson's out-of-conference schedule and who they beat, I get why they got in. Now, again, the ACC tournament was the big thing because BC upset them early. But they finished the regular season 11-9 in the conference, and they were a 21-win team. So, but losing in the first round to BC should have hurt them. It should have. Pitt had a better case in terms of where they finished. But again, when you look at that out-of-conference schedule, and again, I'll read those names off again. Alabama, North Carolina, who's ranked in the top, was the number one seed. They won it. They beat Pitt head-to-head. They beat TCU. They had some big out-of-conference wins. They beat UAB, who's in the tournament. So they beat South Carolina. I mean, they got some big, that's where the out-of-conference schedule is so important. This is why Michigan State gets in every year. And by the way, they were 19-14 and they got in. But again, look at their strength of schedule. That's why you do that. You prepare your team for March. Clemson did an outstanding job with their out-of-conference schedule, and that's why they're dancing right now, and some other teams are not. So, and again, 21 wins, 11 in the ACC. They were 11-9. That's a tournament resume. Then you throw in that out-of-conference schedule, and you're like, yeah, that's how you get around losing to BC, who, by the way, wasn't a bad team. BC finished 19-15. They're in the NIT. They had a chance. BC got to the quarterfinals, had a chance. They lost in overtime to Virginia, who's in the tournament. BC was a good basketball team this year. I haven't said that in forever, but they were. So, okay, I get that one. But, the thing about the NIT is, to me, and I'm going to stand on this until somebody says it, there is a way to get the finalists of that tournament in the dance. Again, if you shorten the field and you make it 32, or you make it 28, whatever you do, so they're playing, but then the two winners get in, you seed them depending on, so the game matters to win that game to get a higher seed, or you draw the number one seed that's left, the top remaining seed. I mean, to me, that would add something. That would make, if there's a way to make March Madness greater, that would be a way to do it, because there's probably 10 to 12 teams in that tournament that have a case for getting into the dance. There probably is. Every year there's at least 6 or 6. So there's probably 10 or 12. And and that would give them incentive to go play in the NIT. It would bring the ratings up. It would draw in more money. There's the money thing again. And then you take those two that felt like they got snubbed. Oh, if you win, we'll get you in at the Sweet 16. And then we'll see how you do. There's a way to do this, okay? They're going to sit there and tell you there's not a way in the beginning, but then someone who actually understands money, okay, is going to go, wait a minute, hold on, let's rethink this. What if we found a way to do this? What would that do for the NIT in terms of money? Okay, because you want to make money. And then teams that got snubbed have a chance to get in on the Sweet. That would, I'll tell you right now, if that were the case, does St. John's and Oklahoma and Pitt decline their invitation? Nope. Just the opposite. Okay? So, to me, if the NCAA has any interest in doing right by the teams they screw over every year, that's a pretty good way to make amends. Okay, you didn't get in the dance, but here's what we are going to do. You're going to go in this tournament here, and if you get to the final, you're going to get in at the Sweet 16. But you got to get to the final. Okay? You get one step for final 4 of that, you're out. You got to get to the final. And if you, depending on how you do in that final, you're going to get reseeded. And if you lose that final, or you'll get in, but you're going to play the best team remaining. And to me, that would be something. And that would be something I think that hopefully somebody will get wind of this and go, why don't we find a way to do that? Because I can't believe I'm the first person that came up with that idea. Someone just dismissed it on the whole student-athlete bullshit, which is complete and total bullshit. Okay? That's bullshit. You can't sing that song to me anymore, given all the shit the NCAA has pulled over the years. You're paying players now, for Christ's sake, with the NIL. Don't give me this crap about fucking student-athlete. That's bubkus. That's puppycock. It's rubbish all. Okay? So that's what I would do if I were the NCAA, if they want to save that NIT tournament. Make it mean something. And the teams that get shafted get a chance to make their case. What could be more American than that? If he was here, I'd tell him, but he's at home sleeping, as usual. Anyway, I was gonna do a bracket, but he's not here. So since we can't do a bracket, thanks, Tom. I'm going to anyway, give you my Final Four prediction, because at least you should get that out of this, if not for the pipe dream of an NIT that matters. Okay, because that's a pipe dream, let's be honest. But it's an idea, it's a thought. So I did this. I've done 2. I'll be honest. I've done 2 brackets. Waiting on DJ. Are you back yet, DJ? On the neighborhood bracket. So there'll be 3. But the key here, I had in the brackets that I did. Let me see if they have my brackets up, because I should be in here somewhere. If I'm already in, I thought I was already in. Pretty sure I was. Didn't tell me if I was a member. I am a member. I'm already in. I don't want to hear all those. I'm not in the celebrity brackets, but where am I? Who am I? Where am I in this? Am I in this? I should be in this. It should be me. Let me see if I can pull me up. And then it was, I'm not going to say it out loud on the air. Give away that password. Oh, what? I should be in there. Yeah, I want to see it. They're not letting me in, America. They're not letting me in. By the way, while we're talking to you, Tom, in the fourth quarter out on the left coast, New York, the Knicks, who are currently fourth in the East, 40-27, are in a Donnie with the Golden State Warriors. It is not 101-95 with 8:46 to go in this game. It's a Donnie on a man-up Monday, and the redoubtable one is sleeping. And we know why he's sleeping. He played PlayStation last night. Who are we kidding? Because 2 drinks isn't doing that, even to a lightweight like Tom. Anyway, we'll keep you updated on that. Let me see if I can pull up my bracket here. My bracketology. Where is my bracketology? Is my bracketology in here? Hold on a second. Let me see if it's here. I love technology because you can actually... Aha! Wait. Let me see if I can see... Can I see them? Show me. I want to see my picks. So my first one, I've got a Final Four of Uconn, North Carolina, Houston, and Tennessee. 3 1s and a 2. That's my first one. My second one, okay, picks 2. I've got a Final Four of Uconn, Arizona, Houston, and Creighton. Now, let me explain the difference here. And the consistencies. Really, the consistent thing is I don't believe in Purdue. Purdue, to me, and I feel bad for Edey because that kid is very good. He should be a high first-round draft pick. He can change a franchise. All he's got to do is develop a jump shot. I have a feeling he already has it, but in Purdue's situation where they have a bunch of shooters around him, they don't need him to shoot it. But I think he's a jump shot away if he doesn't already have it. He should be a first-round pick, and I got news for you. He plays D, he rebounds, he can finish around the basket, he has post moves. He has value at the next level, and he should be a high pick. However, his backcourt has killed him the last 2 years, and they're probably going to kill him again because I don't believe, even though they've been in the top 5 all year, and they got beat by Wisconsin. Let's be real here in the final of the Big Ten there. Their backcourt's going to be their undoing again because while they can shoot, they're slow, they can be pressured, you can take them out of their game. The further and further away from the basket you force Purdue to start their offense, the more likely it is you're going to beat them. Okay, and that's the key to beating Purdue. Those guards have not shown me the ability to not only negate that, but to make teams pay for trying to do it. And yes, they're a senior-laden team. I believe they are. So they have experience, but the only experience they have is losing. So when you look at their bracket, they've got Kansas, they've got TCU who could get them in the second round. They've got Gonzaga, they've got Oregon, South Carolina, Creighton, Big East. They've got Tennessee, a wagon. Hell, Virginia's in the play-in. Okay, there's 5 teams, 6 teams right there. Anyone can knock them off. Kansas, for all their faults, has the talent and a big man to match them. Okay, and knock them off. Kansas is the 4 seed, has a very good draw. Them and Duke actually got helped because I said last week that both of them were soft as puppy poo, and their tournament life expectancy was based on their bracket or the draw they got. Both Kansas and Duke got favorable draws. I mean, if Kansas wins in the first round against Samford, they got Gonzaga, who's very beatable. And then they would face maybe Creighton, maybe South Carolina, maybe Tennessee. Tennessee is probably the toughest one out of that, but Creighton's very good. Creighton blew out Uconn, by the way, 1 game. So that's where they could run into trouble. But again, from a talent perspective, does Kansas have the horses to run with those teams? Yes, they do. And that's the Sweet 16. Where a team like Kansas or a team like Duke that has the talent, you give them momentum, because the whole thing with them, it's all in their head right now. That's where they can make a run, and they have the draws to do just that. But again, in that bracket, I originally have Creighton. Well, Creighton coming out on 1, and Creighton is, again, that team, they blew out Uconn. Okay, I have Creighton in the second bracket. When I look at the first bracket, I have, I believe, who came out of there? I have Tennessee. So I think either one of them is going to get them if Kansas doesn't. So, or a team like that. So that's why I got that. Uconn has been the best team all year. Danny Hurley's going to use this bag job, this lynching, if you will. Sorry, Tom, there it is again. This is just injustice what the committee did to them, and they're going to use it as motivation. And when they get to that Final Four, they're already a wagon. They're going to be a pissed off one, because they'll have gone through they'll have gone through the demilitarized zone to get there, given the teams, which could be ending with Iowa State, who just beat Houston by almost 30. That could be at the end of this rainbow to get to the Final Four. It's safe to say Uconn, who's already battle-tested, will be war-tested when this is over. Carolina's been pretty consistent. They lost the championship game to a thundering NC State team that's going to give a lot of people problems, depending on the draw. But their bracket, look, Michigan State got in because they're Michigan State, let's be honest. They do play a tough schedule. They're battle-tested. Do they have the horses to stay with them? Probably not. St. Mary's, good team out of the WCC, but Carolina has more talent. If Alabama gets there, that could be a different story. Arizona and Clemson and Baylor are on the bottom half of the bracket, plus that New Mexico team. So there's some landmines there. But again, these teams are going to knock each other off. At the end of the day, I have Carolina running into Arizona, who's a less talented version of them. So, and that'll be a heck of a game, but I think Carolina will squeak that one out. Tennessee has been pretty consistent through most of the season. They didn't win the SEC tournament, but they've been pretty good all season. They're pretty top 10 caliber all season. To me, they're going to find their stride. They also have a good draw where they get Texas, maybe Oregon or Creighton. Creighton's the Pac-10 tournament champion, by the way. Don't sleep on them. They're an 11 seed too. But I think that Tennessee has enough in that based on the conference they came out, because the SEC is also a power conference, to get there. So the consistent ones are Uconn and Houston. I have them in both. I think Houston's due defensively. I think they're the best defensive team in America, along with Uconn and Virginia. But they have a little more offense than Virginia, not quite as much as Uconn. But I think in that bracket, it gets them through. So my national championship, I have Uconn besting Houston in one of them. And in the other one, now 26% of these brackets so far, and I have all picked Uconn, 26%. So less than 4-1 odds. Okay, Uconn against the field makes sense given what Uconn has done. Again, the Big East got shafted; should have had more teams in. I thought Providence got hosed. I'm telling you, as much as I can't stand Pitino, I thought St. John's did get hosed, and they weren't the only ones. So that's a very tough conference they were in. And I think it's going to show itself to be true in this tournament. In the second bracket, again, I have Uconn in the final. Hold on. That's the first one. Who do I have in the second one? In the first one, wait, do I haven't beaten Houston in both? No. 146? No. Wait a minute. I do. I have them beating Houston in both. I need to change that. I really need to change that. I have to figure that out somehow. Well, that's why. You know why? Because I have Houston facing Creighton in one, and Houston facing, I think, Kansas in or Tennessee in the other. Houston, I think, is capable of beating both Creighton and Tennessee. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be close, but Houston defensively is better than both those teams. That's where I give them the edge. So I have Uconn and Houston in the final, and both of them I have Uconn winning either way. Anyway, that's going to do it for segment one. By the way, real quick, women's bracket, it's South Carolina's to lose, I think, because they are on paper the best team, but South Carolina has a way of falling asleep at the wheel, much like the Boston Celtics, who haven't been doing it lately, and we'll talk about that in segment two. But on the women's side, I've got South Carolina. I've got Iowa. Caitlin Clark, they got screwed too. They got a tough bracket, but I think they're going to get through. I've got those two meeting up in the championship game. And as much as I want to pick Iowa, with Caitlin Clark because she could do this. This is the Bird magic thing. They got the best player, but South Carolina has the better team. So it's a Bird magic thing all over again, and Magic's team is going to win because he's got a better team around him than Caitlin Clark does. But I think they get there. I think it's South Carolina versus Iowa in the final, and South Carolina prevails. And another undefeated season for Dawn Staley, who's a hell of a coach, by the way. Uconn has the potential to make the Final Four. They're missing their second best player. That's the problem. And then, of course, LSU needs to stop yakking and start playing. From a talent perspective, they can get there. But eventually the bully gets hit in the mouth, and it just happened once. And when people start being afraid of LSU, I wonder how good they're going to be. And now that the country has seen you can whack them in the mouth and this is how they respond, you can get in their head. So we'll see what happens with them. They have the talent to get there. We'll see where they are up here, and we'll see which teams stop being bullied around by them, see what happens. We already know of one that ain't going to put up with their shit. Isn't that right, Reese? So anyway, that's going to do it for segment 1. We'll come back, segment 2, NBA. The Boston Celtics are rolling. And also a left-handed game winner from a man I refer to as Cry Me. Segment 2 coming right up.